Have you set your goals for 2023? Or are you in the camp of people that have yet to do that, either because it's too overwhelming, you don't know what goals you should set for yourself, or you don't know the right strategy to go about setting goals? Well, you're in luck, because that's what today's episode is about. Great way to start the new year is setting goals. We're going to teach you 5 strategies of ways that you can approach setting goals for 2023 that'll position you for the greatest success. Let's get right into it.
This is Don't Fear Grit with Rob Taormina. Marketing strategies and advertising technologies to help you build a better business.
Happy 2023 to all of my fellow gritters out there. And 2022 was a lot of fun, and I know a lot of you guys experienced tremendous success or just different types of success because you decided to challenge yourself a little bit in 2022. And now we're getting right into 2023. It's the early part. This is the very first episode in a brand new season of Don't Fear Grit for the year 2023. I'm super pumped. And what better way to launch a brand new season than to talk about goals? And we're going to take it from the perspective of strategies, ways that you can approach setting goals. Maybe not what are the ideal goals, right? That's really going to be unique for each person, each business. But we're going to talk specifically, what are the great approaches to setting up good strategies? I think that's where a lot of people fall apart. And so what we're going to do is we're going to outline just five strategies that you can think about that'll enable you to develop a really good plan for the future. And these plans, this approach is really great whether or not you have a company with multiple employees, lots of employees, or you're a solopreneur and you're by yourself. This is a great approach to help sort of prep yourself for setting some incredible strategies. And it's setting strategies and setting goals. It's not a novel idea, right? Everyone does it. Everyone also, approaches it a little bit differently. And where I think that most people will fail is that they don't properly communicate these goals. I don't think they properly outline realistic goals. And I think that leads to a lot of paranoia with your employees. And by the way, you can actually set these generic goals for yourself, even if you're a solopreneur, and still develop and suffer from paranoia yourself from these things. So, and I think that paranoia leads to low productivity, and really that's counterproductive to what we're trying to do here, right? You set goals to increase productivity, and I think that you do that by setting these great goals, but being realistic about expectation. And once you can find that happy balance, I think that's when you really you hit the lottery. That's when magic happens. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to outline, these are 5 examples. I'm not going to go ahead and say these are the top 5, right? But I will say these are 5 examples of strategies to prep yourself when you're going to create goals for yourself. I think you should. And before I get into the goals, I actually want to really quickly make a point here, a little bit defensive this point as well, is there's a massive stigma attached to New Year's resolutions. And now, if you even just go online and you go in your social feed and you ask people about New Year's resolutions, you're going to get a good percentage of people who are these naysayers, and they are poo-pooing New Year's resolutions. Don't do it. It's terrible. It's counterproductive. It's horrible. It's not going to help you reach and achieve anything. It's actually going to make you discouraged and all these other crazy things. So I think the better question then is, when we're discussing that, why? Why is it that today so many people have this negative idea about New Year's resolutions? Well, it's because most people fail to realize the resolution. They were right in setting the goal, but they were wrong in their approach. Therefore, it didn't set them up for the best possibility of success. And just because a lot of people aren't successful in achieving resolutions, it doesn't mean it's wrong. Does that make sense to a lot of people that's listening right now? I'm wondering if you guys think that this makes sense and I'm onto something here and you agree, do me a favor, show me that you're sort of on board with this. Like right now, wherever if you're listening on a various podcasting platform or you're watching it on like one of our YouTube channels, do me a favor. Can you just or share it with someone? And then that lets me know like, yeah, like this, you're onto something here. This is a good topic. So, but I think that resolutions that are approached properly are very effective. And what you see, instead of using the word resolution because there's so much negativity associated with that, let's use the word goal, right? And you see very successful people achieving success intentionally. That means they intentionally set forth a plan with a goal in mind and achieve that. The greatest, most successful people in the world, that's their general sort of recipe for success. So therefore, it is a good thing. So why do people think it's a bad thing? It's like what I said before. It's because number one, most people don't approach it properly. Number two, they don't set the right goal. Number three, they don't actually approach a goal strategy the right way. And when you don't actually prep the right way, you've heard me talk in episodes earlier on in the year about preparation. It's so important, right? But when you don't prep the right way, you're not preparing yourself. You're not positioning yourself for the best chance of success. What you're doing is you're leaving it up to chance. You're saying, I want this result, but you're not really understanding the journey, right? So I think that's why today's episode is going to be awesome and discussing and outlining for you guys 5 really classic, I'm going to call them classic examples of goal setting strategies. Now, these are not the goals themselves. I want to be clear. I said it earlier. I'm going to repeat myself. These are not the goals. These are not my recommendations of what your goals should be. These are my recommendations for strategies for approaching these goals. So it gives you the best chance of actually getting success with these goals, meaning realizing, these particular goals. So let's get right into it. The very first one that I want to discuss here is to be specific. You want to set an actionable goal. In order to set an actionable goal, you need to ensure that it's going to pass 5 checks. And it's everyone knows this one. Like, this is an old school acronym called SMART. If you haven't heard of it before, SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. And if you are going to go ahead and put the first layer of your strategy through this SMART filter, it's going to enable you now to land on that right goal, the right process, the right sort of like goal that's going to enable you to just achieve success, but not just you, but the people around you as well. You want to be specific. And the thing is, when you're not specific, that means the people around you are not going to be able to align themselves and understand what the goal is. It's very nice to generalize. It's very nice to generalize and say things like, we want to be more productive. We want to communicate better. We want to increase revenue. Those are all like nice, slightly obvious things, right? But these are not goals that really the people around you, and by the way, including yourself, are going to be able to really relate to and understand the journey, right? I think that with the example of, make more money, duh. I mean, everyone wants to make more money, but how is that a goal that anyone can identify with? That is obviously what you're trying to do every single day. But what is the specific goal? You want to set very specific, very, very specific, measurable goals that you can identify with, the people around you can identify with, and they can understand. And then they can latch themselves onto this particular goal and be like, I get it. I understand. I understand the goal. I understand the journey. You want people to be inspired through it. In order to be able to inspire people with a goal, they have to understand it. This speaking in generalities doesn't work. It doesn't work because no one's going to achieve anything if you just speak in generalities, make more money. Well, duh. What's a specific goal that's going to enable me to make more money, right? So that's why, number one, Be specific. Do some research on your own to help you understand what that means for yourself. And remember, I think with layer one being specific, to really understand this, put it through the filter of that SMART acronym. It'll really help you guys out. The second one is, you might think that is very similar, and it is, but get granular. Now, I can't emphasize enough the importance of being specific. And I am literally emphasizing it through making my second goal setting strategy to get even more granular. One of the most common mistakes leaders make in the planning process is they don't get granular enough with their goals. Most organizations, they want to grow their business and increase employee productivity while fostering like good work-life balances and culture. And these are all good, great, wonderful, incredible goals to have, but they're not specific enough. That's why I'm going to, in number 2, really hammer this one home to encourage everyone to get crazy granular. Overarching goals should be whittled down to something specific and something actionable. These micro goals that people that can sort of map out a path to success. You want people to be able to, when they hear you articulate this particular granular, very specific goal, they should be able to envision it. Goals are not just necessarily something that's the end result. When you're setting a goal for your team, they should be able to see very clearly the path to be able to finish the race, right? And that's why setting very general goals are not things that people around you can actually identify with. I'm sure you've probably have experienced this before, where maybe you had a team. It could be at work, not-for-profit, maybe it was at a school, I think even maybe just a family event setting. And you set this general goal, and you became frustrated that the people around you weren't actually being productive to achieve the goal. Perhaps it wasn't because everyone was being lazy. Perhaps it was because they didn't understand the goal. They didn't see how they fit into the picture of that goal. Therefore, they didn't understand what their role was to accomplish the goal. Does that make sense for you guys? The third thing here that I want to encourage all of you guys to do as far as now, remember, this is goal setting strategies. These are not the goals themselves. Goal setting strategies. Create space for honest conversations. Now that sounds a little sappy, right? I get it. But one of the biggest issues leaders in every single organization face in setting goals is that, quite frankly, nobody understands or believes in them. And worse is that individuals don't understand how they work, how what they do. And let me get the camera back on here, man. Sorry, I lost my place here. But how what they're doing and how they work, how it sort of plays into the impact of the goal. Sounds very similar to now the second one, right? Obviously, because I like to keep things flowing where there's a sort of a relatable thread and common theme throughout everything. It helps us to really sort of zero in here on how this could impact you guys. You know, we're having this conversation today in today's episode so that it gets you to this place in your mind where you're able to take what you're hearing and what you're learning and then apply it to your life. So I think that creating a space to have honest conversations will foster the proper dialogue for success. And what that means is, let's say in an earlier example I gave that you set this goal, but people didn't understand how they fit into that goal. If you didn't create a space for honest conversation, then they wouldn't be able to come to you and get further clarification. But by incorporating this into your new plan for 2023, that you're going to create more more spaces. You're going to create more spaces for honest conversation. In these moments, where you're articulating a goal that you know is so incredibly important for your business, what you're going to do is your employees and the people around you that work with you are then going to trust you to they're going to pull you aside and ask for further clarification because you created that space where, you know what, they can be vulnerable and ask the questions they feel might be stupid, might not be good enough, right? And then fill in the blank. You actually want to foster those conversations. And I think you'll go wrong by making an assumption that everyone understands. You can't. So by creating this space for honest conversation, you are going to actually eliminate more error. You're leaving less room for error. And then this is one of the cases where that's a good thing because you want to understand the problem before it happens. You want your staff to understand the journey to this particular goal so that they are on board, right? They are absolutely on board. The next strategy here is to track process. Not process, I'm sorry, but track progress. You want to track your progress. It's great now to be able to articulate appropriately and get your entire team on board with a goal. But if you just set it and forget it, you might actually lose sight of what you were trying to work towards. That could be a big problem. If you don't track your progress, how will you know if you're actually making any progress? How about that? Let that sink in for a second. How can you possibly know if you're achieving progress unless you're tracking it? So I don't think you should leave anything to luck. I don't think anything happens by chance. I think success is intentional. And when you observe success in other people, this was an intentional thing. So for you to intentionally achieve your goal, you got to be tracking what you're doing. If you're not tracking your steps, number one, you can actually run the risk of getting off the path. And envision yourself for a second, even if you're not a hiker. Let's say you're walking this particular trail and you know that if you stay on the trail, you will get from point A to point B. But in addition to that, you will be able to observe all of the best spots along that hiking trail. It's the most efficient way to do it, and it guarantees you get to see every single one of the major spots that you would want to see on this hiking trail. If you didn't look down to make sure and look around you to make sure that, in fact, you're progressing down that particular trail, here's the problem. You can risk stepping off the trail. Now, stepping off the trail for one step or two steps, fine. You'll be able to retrace, and get back on the trail because you can still see it. However, if you're not monitoring and managing your progress and you step off that trail for a mile, good luck getting back on track now. It's going to be a lot harder. It's going to be very difficult, and some people would argue next to impossible. So you want to what? Position yourself for the greatest chance of success. You do that by what? Tracking your progress. The last thing that we are going to touch up on here is to look back to refine future goals. I think a lot of people, you see a lot of these gurus talking about don't look back at all, only press forward. I think that's silly because those who don't understand your past and the problems of the past and the bad decisions you made in the past are doomed to repeat the same problem. So one easily overlooked element of the goal setting process is taking a moment to reflect on historical goals that have already been achieved over the past year. Part of the goal setting process is looking back on your progress toward your goals to determine what was achieved and what still needs to work. And that sort of looking back gives you that insight you need to be able to understand. In order to understand where we're going, we have to understand where we came from. We've heard this line many, many times in movies and whatnot, but it's applicable right here as well. In order to understand and appreciate where we're going, we have to understand where we came from or coming from if you're in the act of actually in that journey of trying to achieve a goal. But sorry, guys. But anyway, this is, again, I just wanted to give you a soft goal setting strategy to get yourself in that right place here so that you can articulate there great goals for you and your business. Now, early on, you heard me say that this is great, whether or not you're managing a big team or you're a solopreneur. It is true. Don't not include yourself. If you're a solopreneur, meaning you are an entrepreneur, you own your own business, or you're managing your own project and you're on your own, you got no one else around you to help you achieve this stuff. Well, you are your own team in this case. You should still be setting goals. You should still be articulating them and practicing what we've just discussed here and sort of getting into the routine of doing that. But you got to understand something, that if you don't properly even write down and articulate the goals for yourself so that you don't understand them, but they're just this general thing, you're shooting in the dark. You're never going to hit that goal. It's going to be nearly impossible for you to hit that goal. Imagine you ever play the game of darts, right? Imagine you set a bullseye and you set it 50 feet away and you've got your dart, but all the lights are off. There's no residual light anywhere. You're in the complete dark, but you have to hit the bullseye. What's the likelihood? What's the chance? What the heck are the odds there of you taking a single dart from 50 feet, 50 yards, whatever, and getting it a bullseye, even if you shorten up the distance and you put it 5 feet from you? You realize how hard it is going to be to hit the bullseye in the dark? So you can actually cast more light on the situation, cast more light on your goals by having the right approach and strategy to setting the goal. Setting these realistic sort of goals, getting very specific, getting crazy granular, achievable success, because you don't want to live in this sort of paranoid sort of world. You don't want to live in this world where you don't think that you can do it and you're setting these goals that you don't understand. You're going to get discouraged. You're going to end up quitting. The best thing that you could do for yourself, position yourself for success, is to also approach the goal setting strategy appropriately. And these 5 tips, I think, will really nudge people in that right direction. And I think that you guys are going to surprise yourself. You're going to surprise the people around you, because I think that they're going to realize and they're going to pick up on, wow, this leader, my boss, the manager, the project leader, man, their approach is a little bit different because I get it. I understand the goal because I could see that journey and I can see where I factor into this journey. I know what my role is. I know what I can do here. I'm on board. That level of ambition, you can harness that and you could ride that to success. That's huge right there, guys. Guys, anyway, happy 2023. I'm predicting where 2023 is going to be a challenge for a lot of people because we are going to see brand new technologies that I think that everyone is not going to have a choice but to adopt and use. So I think there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. And I think that people are going to be challenged, but those that embrace it and understand it and research and learn and say, you know what, I'm not giving up, and they persevere and they get through it, I think we're going to see crazy levels of success for people in 2023 that we haven't seen before. I think it's going to be amazing. I think that we're going to see our friends, our family, our neighbors who've got these side hustles. I think we're going to see them take off. I think you're going to see guys double, triple, 10x their businesses in 2023 because you know what? They claimed it as their year of success and they're not going to give up until they understand how to get there and achieve it. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be marvelous. I can't wait to hear all of your success stories. Guys, I appreciate every single one in this community. It's such a great community. Do me a favor, take this and send it to at least one person, even if it's someone that you work with, family, your spouse, whatever, brother, sister, you name it. Send it to them. Let it inspire them as well. Let's continue to grow this community together. I'd love to hear from you guys. Find me in a place where you can communicate, and let's continue that conversation because it's really, really incredible. But anyway, don't feel gritters. You guys are awesome. Remember, don't fear the process and don't fear